Hi, I'm Scott with Home Perfect Restoration. I got Matt Smith with Trust Home Inspections. Just wanted to bring some good information to you guys. The market is crazy hot right now. You got to be a busy man.
Yep, crazy.
So we get a lot of questions from people in the real estate community when we come across mold on home inspections and things like that. So I wanted to bring a home inspector here to give you guys some good information. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to start, Matt, how long you've been doing this and all that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scott, for this opportunity. I've been doing home inspections for a little over 5 years now. I love what I do. I do both residential and commercial properties. And then our goal is to provide a complete understanding for the client on what they're actually buying. We're not there to pass or fail. We're not necessarily code inspectors. We're worried more for functionality as well as fire, safety, and health concerns. So yeah, that's what we do.
I still remember you doing the home inspection at my house in Orange County, and the ceiling collapsed. Remember that? We were running the AC. The ceiling collapsed because there was a leak, and you're like, oh, dude, walk away. But it was right up my alley. So,
Yeah.
what should people consider when looking for hiring a home inspector?
Yeah, so one thing that I always tell people is don't shop for a home inspector based on price. This is not the situation where you try to save any money whatsoever. Based on price, it's the old adage, you get what you pay for.
Right.
And so I am a strong believer in that. So when somebody's looking for a home inspector, you want somebody that you're going to gel with, but also somebody that has good reviews and that has been involved in the real estate community locally as well as, in the community. But a lot of home inspectors will travel as long as they're familiar with the current standards of your area. And that's fine.
I was amazed by how many home inspectors don't even have a construction background or handyman background or anything to even know construction standards, and then now they're determining whether things are actually done right or not. So that's good information. Does a realtor hire you or does the homeowner? It's a question we get asked a lot.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So the buyer actually has the right to hire their own home inspector. So even though it may be at the end of the transaction and you've gone through a lot, the real estate agent says, hey, congratulations, you got your offer accepted. Now we're going to open escrow and you need to find a home inspector. And so a lot of people say, well, I don't know a home inspector. And so realtors will say, oh, I have a guy if you want to use my guy, which sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. So it's one of those things where the buyer has the option to hire their own home inspector. So I recommend doing some research. You can get the referral from your agent. But before just going with that one referral, I recommend doing a little bit of research, calling your home inspector and interviewing them. Just call them and say, hey, I have a couple questions for you. And again, don't start with how much do you charge. Start with are you part of an association? Because believe it or not, home inspectors in California do not have to be licensed. And so you want to make sure that they're associated with an association that holds them to a higher standard. Associations usually require you to do so much continuing education. They require you to have pass a national exam for home inspections. And then they make sure that you have ethics training. And the awesome part about the association is we meet once a month and you are in a room with 60 to 80 other home inspectors. And so you have that group of people. If you do come across something you're not familiar with, you can always bounce it off them. And we all share stories and pictures of things that we've seen. And so it just keeps you up to date and they keep you up to the current standards and the current codes that are going on. So I always say make sure that they're part of an association. You want to make sure that your home inspector carries general liability and E&O insurance. That's two separate insurances. One's for if the general liability will cover you at the home inspection if something happens. Let's say, for instance, you fall off a ladder and put a hole in the wall, or maybe something happens. Their insurance will cover that. But then if for some reason something gets missed, then things happen, but you want to make sure that they have coverage just in case something gets missed. So general liability and E&O insurance are important as well. And so, and then ask them if they're using any new technology. There's a lot of technology out there that helps us as home inspectors, such things as drones to do roofs, certain tiles you're not supposed to walk on, certain areas aren't accessible. So if you fly a drone, that helps. Thermal imaging also helps. I know you guys use thermal imaging in your business as well. And so we'll function all the plumbing upstairs and then come downstairs and look at the ceilings and see if we find any possible leaks. Doesn't happen often, but we do find it. Tubs, toilets, things like that could lead to a lot of hidden damages, because it's just a snapshot in time when we're there, and there could be stuff in the walls that we can't see. So so just make sure you talk to them, and that you're going to get along with them, and that they have the proper training and that they're using the proper tools.
Yeah, you came into my house looking like a restoration contractor with that clear camera and everything. I would imagine it would be good for the homeowner to do the research and hire that home inspector, because I'm sure it happens. You should always have faith in your realtor, but you got to be worried. Is the home inspector worried about potentially killing a deal and upsetting a realtor in order to continue to get that, work going, or are they looking out for you?
Right.
Is this going to be a good purchase for you as the buyer, as what they're getting into? So, should people selling their home get an inspection prior to putting it on the market, so they don't have that, like, you find a bunch of repairs in the middle of escrow and it could kill a deal? Is it worth doing the inspection prior?
Yeah, so it is. I feel it is worth it. Sellers inspections are a small percentage of the inspections that we do, and that's based on a lot of fear. And that kind of goes to your real estate agent transaction question as well. Agents get real nervous towards the end of the transaction, because home inspectors can come in, and if they present it the wrong way, they could scare the heck out of their client. I'm a firm believer in everything can be fixed. It's just making sure that you're aware of it ahead of time. If I can tell you ahead of time the problems, then you can negotiate who's going to fix them. And that's where I kind of step away, and that's how your realtor will work with that side of it. But seller inspections are good, because then you do know, hey, these are the things that could possibly come up during the inspection when the buyer has it. And I've literally done inspections for people where I present the report. They go in and they fix several things, and then they write in their report, hey, I've fixed several things. The home inspector came back out, approved, said that these things were fixed correctly. And then from there, they say the rest of the stuff is stuff that's going on with the house, but we're not going to end up fixing it. And so they kind of just lay it out on the line right up front. And then people know what they're buying. They have a thorough report. And then there's no hidden, hidden problems or hidden, things that are going to show up, and that could possibly, put a bump in the road or kill a deal.
Yeah, I think every house is going to have its issue. Have you ever did a home inspection there was nothing wrong?
Nope. Not even brand new houses.
Right, exactly. That's why there's warranties, because things happen.
Yeah, things happen.
So what are the most common things that you see on almost every home inspection that has to be addressed?
You know what I think that I try to push, and I actually give out a little brochure on this, is deferred maintenance. There's so many things that people could do on a regular basis that would help in the long run. Either, draining your hot water heater once a year is good deferred maintenance. Things of that nature. If you have
the number one source of water losses that we see is hot water heaters. That's a perfect tip.
Right. So if they can drain their hot water heater, it'll help make it last longer, and then they can also inspect it as they're draining it, and then they'll know if they have certain things going on, certain problems, and then replacing it ahead of time. They know, and then things, that you can just do around your house, just cleaning certain things, making sure everything's clean. Don't paint over your electrical outlets. You're not supposed to paint over them. Make sure your electrical covers are, in place. There's a lot of little deferred maintenance that goes a long way. Your water pressure, check your water pressure on a regular basis. That's probably something that you would like to preach as well. Make sure it's between 50 and 80. 50 to 70 is real good. 80 is getting, pushing it a little bit if you want like those high pressure showers. But for $10, you can go to Home Depot and buy a pressure regulator gauge. Or a pressure gauge, and then you can always, most of the time, adjust it at the pressure regulator. So,
right. Changing out your air filters.
Yeah, absolutely. Air filters every 3 months. We recommend changing out air filters every 3 months. Just all the preventative maintenance just goes so far. Imagine if you're trying to breathe, all of us, especially right now with the whole COVID situation and masks, you're trying to breathe through a mask. Imagine if it was dirty or had a couple layers of dirt on it. You're doing that to your HVAC system, both your air conditioner and your heater. So if you change those filters, it has less of a struggle breathing, literally, and it will last longer if you don't stress it out as much. So
right, and then maintaining on your caulking, your painting, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
regular wear and tear items.
Yeah, exterior caulking and painting around windows and door jambs. The paint actually is not just aesthetics, but it actually protects it as well. And then when you're doing that maintenance, a lot of times you'll see, I might have a little bit of a termite issue, or I might have a little bit of water damage because maybe my gutters are leaking, or maybe I don't have gutters, and so now that water's splashing on the side of the house, and leaving a stain on the stucco. So just preventative maintenance, I think overall, is a lot of the stuff we see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Who do you recommend they call if they have water damage?
That's right. Home perfect restoration.
What are some of the items that you see that typically could kill a deal that maybe people should look out for prior to listing their house for sale, or if they are a seller, just things to kind of check on?
Yeah. So one of the things, and it's hard because you don't see it a lot, are roofs. Roofs are something that a lot of people don't ever go up and maintain. They don't look at it. And then unfortunately, not until you have a water leak are they then saying, oh, I might have a problem with my roof. Well, at that point, now you have water infiltrate, inside, and all the damage that causes. And so just having your roof inspected, and, I can come over and fly it, or you can have somebody, look at it, and crack tiles, slip tiles, flashing that's not proper, keep, a lot of debris that's on the roof from trees and things like that. It all adds up. It can all cause problems. So roofs are one of the big things people get real nervous about when it comes to water problems and damage. You just don't know what's in the walls, and we don't do mold testing as part of our inspection. And so I have companies, such as yourself and people that can do mold, and then just making sure that you do, all the maintenance on your windows. Sometimes people get nervous about windows. Sometimes they lose seals. It happens over time. And so, depending on the manufacturer, it'll lose the seal, and then the gas, leaks out between the windows, and you get condensation. And so then you get, 6 or 8 windows that now need to be repaired. And it just gets costly. So just staying up on top of maintenance and things like that. It's amazing. I see these houses that pretty much look like they're staged, but people are living in them. Right. And then you walk into some houses where they do zero maintenance, and they don't even pick up the trash off the floor, and so it's the same exact neighborhood. You see some of these houses, it's just one pride of ownership and one not, as much pride of ownership. And it makes a big difference when you come to sell.
Yeah, you flew a drone at my house, but I remember I had a home inspection probably 6 years ago on a different house, and the inspector just walked across the street to look at the roof and said, it looks okay from here. So I'm glad that you do that and take the extra step, because people have solar install companies that walk on the roof, solar cleaning companies, window cleaners that sometimes are walking on roofs. So there's a lot of opportunity to crack a tile, especially if they don't know what they're doing, which goes back to hire licensed, insured, reputable contractors for anything you're doing. Because that can get very, very costly on top of just regular wind damage that can slip a tile. So
very common to have slip tiles, even cracked tiles. Yeah. So
besides having the infrared camera for inspections, flying drones for roofs, actually investing in your company and new technology, what else separates you from your competitors?
Yeah, so it goes back to a lot like we talked about with delivering the information. It's one of those things where I work well with real estate agents, not only on the communication side, but all of my communication comes electronically. So everybody is communicated through email, they get text messages, and just delivering the information that you actually find on the inspection in a way and in a manner that is not alarming, and that is just factual, right? And so, again, I believe everything can be fixed. And so it's one of those situations where, hey, this is an FYI. I just want you to be aware of it. You may need to maintenance it now. You may need to maintenance it later. It may need to be replaced situation. But and being open and willing to talk to people. Don't be scared, with the clients. And then I also offer sewer camera inspections. And so that was an investment I chose to make a couple years ago, because the pipes underground you can't see, and so it's one of those things where you can see a hole in the wall. You can see, a stain on the ceiling from a possible, water leak or something of that nature. But a lot of the plumbing, especially in older houses, you can't see it. When you have big trees in the yard, you can get root infestation into the pipes. They start moving pipes around. Pipes collapse. Things happen. And that's where I think a deal can definitely, we talked about deal breakers, that's one thing that gets expensive real fast. And a lot of people don't know this, but as a homeowner, you're responsible for the plumbing line that runs all the way to the sewer connection, which is usually in the middle of the street. So let's say, for instance, it breaks 2 feet from the connection to the sewer. It's on you as a homeowner to dig up that ground and make that repair. So the city's going to come out and do it, but they're going to send you a bill for it. And so if you knew about it ahead of time, I'm not saying that house might not be your dream house and you want it fixed, kind of like the situation we talked about with you in Orange County. That was the house you wanted, and luckily that's the field you're in, but it could be your dream house, and maybe you negotiate. Maybe you guys split the cost. Maybe the homeowner, because most of the time the homeowner's not going to know either. The seller's not going to know, and so it's not their fault. It happens. And so, but you want to know that ahead of time, because for an extra $175, you may say, well, that's a $15,000 problem. That's a $20,000 problem. And so let's figure out who's going to pay for that, and negotiate it ahead of time. And it's one of those things that I know it sounds funny, but if I tell you ahead of time that I'm going to punch you, and then I punch you, you're not surprised. But if I don't tell you and I just do it, you're going to be mad. And so it's one of those things where, same thing with with home inspection. If I tell you ahead of time and then you move into the house and you see it, you're not upset because you already knew about it ahead of time. Right. But when you find it after you moved in and you've already gone through this whole process, then you're upset, and you have every right to be upset, and so.
Yeah, I love that tip on the camera inspection of the sewer line, because typically if you're not thinking of that, especially with big trees, we see it all the time, tree roots growing into the lines. The only way you're going to find out is when your house backs up. You get sewage damage in your house. Now you're dealing with interior damage on top of having to dig out your front yard or your driveway or whatever needs to happen. So major damage that's unexpected. So I like that tip. It's perfect. What service areas do you cover?
So I cover all of San Diego, Riverside, Orange County, and for agents that I do business with, I will go into LA County. But I market here, Temecula, Murrieta, Menifee. I'm from Temecula originally. I live currently in Murrieta, and I love our community. So I do offer discounts to all heroes, local heroes. Those people to me are people that I consider heroes, are military, either active or retired, and first responders, so police, fire, nurses, doctors, things of that nature, and then all K through 12th grade teachers. So the reason I say that is because I've had college professors that have tried to get a teacher discount, and they're making pretty good money. So K through 12th grade teachers that work for the school system, not the stay-at-home parent teachers.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah, and you're a big Rotarian too. You're very active in the community and giving back.
Yeah. So I love Rotary. I'm with the Temecula New Gen Rotary Club, and then I'm also with the trauma intervention program locally. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
And then how can people contact you?
Yeah, so it's Trust Home Inspections. So trusthomeinspections.com. You can email me, Matthew, MATTHEW, at trusthomeinspections.com. You can call me. My cell phone number, 951-764-3387. And my office number is 951-813-1127. Yeah,
I will say, hands down, you are the most thorough home inspector I've dealt with. I mean, I haven't owned a ton of homes, but 4 homes. But
awesome.
The most thorough home inspection. I really, really appreciate that. So, anything else that you want to add, or you think people should know about?
No. I would like to say, if anybody has any questions, feel free to contact me. Even if I'm not your home inspector and you go with somebody else, I'm always there to help and answer questions. It's one of those things where I'm a big advocate of education. And so I go into real estate offices and I'll do office presentations. I'll do Zoom presentations. I really feel that the agents that I work well with are people that educate their clients. They're not scared of the transaction. They're not scared of the deal. They're not scared of the home inspection. And they just let them know, hey, this is how it's going to work. Matt's going to write everything down on a piece of paper, and we're going to talk about it. Yeah. It's not necessarily, all of it's not necessarily going to get repaired, but it's things that we want to make sure everybody is aware of, and we'll discuss it. But they don't shy away from it. They actually encourage it, and they say the more inspections you can get, the better, because then you're more informed.
Perfect. Yeah. I want to circle back to... I can't believe I just said circle back. I hope I don't get judged for that. I want to go back to, you made a comment that you would be able to tell people, educate them, as far as this is something that's like an immediate need or immediate action item, or something that you should keep an eye on. If I remember right, I think your report was even like color coded with a color of like, hey, this is something to consider in the future, not really a pressing issue. And then something in like red was something that was an immediate, urgent matter. Is that right?
Absolutely. So everything that I feel needs attention now, and or that should be fixed before close of escrow.
Could be like a safety hazard or concern,
Safety
right?
hazard, physical issue, functional issue, something that's not working. I'm going to note in there, and that's going to be all in red. And so that my report is the majority of it is written in black, but there's lots of pictures, lots of arrows, lots of circles, and this is a lot of people will use it as like a home maintenance guide once they get their report. But yeah, so it's in the report. It's in red in the report throughout the report, but then there's also a summary page with all the red items in the back, and those are going to be, like you said, more of your major ticket items, things that need fixed and repaired, versus keep an eye on it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I thank you for your time and sending some information to the community. I appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much, everybody. If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me. And Scott, thank you for your time.
Thank you.